I'm back for another What Would Have Happened If This Were in Real Life RhinoTMRT Gameplay Series YouTube video. Now, I've been trying over and over again to come up with another one of these topics, especially now with, other various ways and all that, and, coming up with different, new ideas and all that, and yeah, I guess it kind of would make a lot of sense for me to do all this, and I just figured that I would do another one of these, especially after that Skylanders Academy Season 4 YouTube video that I did last week Wednesday, so you can go check that one out. And now I'm actually doing another one of those sequel movie ideas YouTube videos that I also would come up with. So yeah, and I already know which one it is, so yeah, keep in mind it's going to be very great and all, so yeah. So anyways, this is what would have happened if the Shark Tale 2 movie were in real life. Now we come up into the beginning where, of course, Oscar and his girlfriend, I forgot her name, are enjoying themselves after Oscar not being a shark slayer anymore, and both Oscar and his girlfriend, I forgot the name of, both falling in love and easily enjoying each other. And then, of course, both Oscar and his girlfriend eventually get married, and Oscar's girlfriend eventually becomes Oscar's wife. Which this is kind of how it's going to all play out. So now Oscar and his girlfriend are now both married. Now Oscar and his wife are now of course so many years after they got married. So technically it time jumps from the ending all the way to the Oscar and his girlfriend's marriage. Then they became, and then a time jumps and then it does another time jump to where Oscar and his wife are both enjoying their lives and in the hopes that they would have kids. Which honestly is the whole point. Now, the reason why there are two time jumps in the Shark Tale 2 movie is because the reason why there is two time jumps is because it shows different areas of different times. It would show us because there isn't making this the first animated movie to ever have two time jumps in at the same time, it happens one time but then it happens another time. It happens one time but then it happens the second time, and then later happens the second time, which I guess is the best part. Now Oscar and his wife, who are now enjoying themselves and are probably the most famous couple in all the whatever town, I don't know, I'll just say Fish Town. Yeah, I don't know the name of the town where Oscar and his girlfriend later renamed before. I don't know the town where they were in, so I'll just call it Fish Town. So Oscar and his wife who are basically the two famous, probably the only, who are probably the most two most famous people in all of Fish Town. Oscar and his wife, who are now both the famous two people of Fish Town, they're probably the famous couple of all time in Fish Town. They of course enjoy their lives, but then again, Oscar feels like he feels like it's very great because Oscar and his girlfriend are getting married, but he wants to do something else while also still being famous. So yeah, this is kind of how it's gonna go for. Oh, I'm sorry for that. I just had a cough going on here, but it won't affect the rest of the video. Meanwhile, we cut open to an evil shark who goes by the name Rogue. Now, Rogue is actually a new character who actually hears about Oscar's fame, who actually hears about Oscar and his wife's fame. and realizes that in order to get rid of all the fishes in order to get rid of all the fishes, he needs to try and get rid of it in all of Fish Town. He has to try and before he gets rid of all the fishes in Fish Town, including Oscar and his wife. Before he tries to get rid of them, Rogue has to put an end to the sharks that exiled and banished him. Now, keep in mind, I don't know the sharks' names from Shark Tale, so yeah, but I do know the main character's name, so at least that's something. At least that's something to go for here. And yeah, I honestly think this is a perfectly good sequel movie idea. So Rogue sends out. So Rogue, who's an evil shark, sends out his evil piranha sharks evil piranha evil piranha like sharks to go and try and take over the all the other sharks that betrayed Rogue to begin with. Now Rogue was actually once a good shark back in the day before the event sometime before the events of Shark Tale 1. But then he ended up being betrayed by his own but then he ended up being betrayed by his own but then he ended up being left behind because the reason why he was left behind, I mean, he kind of didn't do well as a good shark later in his teenage years, and then of course they banished him after he failed to destroy a fish, which would end up being Oscar's father. So Rogue, who failed at eating Oscar's father, and ultimately letting him get away, and ultimately losing his chance of becoming a good shark. Rogue eventually was eventually betrayed and banished by all the other sharks in outside of Fishtown, and they eventually got rid of him. Then Rogue makes his appearance to both Fishtown and Sharktown and explains that he will destroy all the town, and he explains that he will personally destroy both he will personally eat and destroy. He will personally destroy everyone in Fishtown and the Shark Town. Now, keep in mind, I don't know the name for it. I mean, if there was a name for it, then I would have told you, but I just don't know the name of it because I haven't seen it. But I'm just gonna go with Fishtown and Sharktown. Yeah, I'm just gonna go down with those two places. Rogue, who now appears himself as an evil shark to everyone, and now Oscar, who later finds out about Rogue, feels like this is his chance to get rid of Rogue. So yeah, that's kind of the whole point around all that. So Oscar and Rogue eventually start a war against each other. And then here we get an epic fight and battle scene that goes on. Oscar, of course, wins, for most of it. And Rogue retreats, and then Oscar, Fishtown, and Sharktown, they all have a training montage and all that. And then in order to prepare for the worst and all that, and yeah, so they all prepare for the worst by doing a training montage and all that, and then they eventually are easily ready. Then of course a few couple of hours pass by, and then Oscar and everyone in Fishtown and Sharktown are willing to destroy Rogue and his evil piranha-like sharks. So they eventually start off their attack in an epic fight and battle scene, which arguably is one of the best ones ever there is, and includes not only everyone in Fishtown and Sharktown, but it also includes Bruce and the two sharks from Finding Nemo. They also make an appearance in the epic fight and battle scene, and making it DreamWorks this probably would have made it This probably also would have been not only a sequel movie idea, but also a crossover movie idea. So I kind of like the idea about that. I kind of like the idea about adding the Finding Nemo sharks into Shark Tale, which honestly is the best idea that I ever came up with. And then of course Oscar and all everyone and his wife and all the other people of Fishtown, Sharktown, and Bruce and his two sharks. They'll eventually have an epic fighting battle scene against the Rogue and his evil piranha-like sharks, which lasts for about like a few couple of like I'd say around like 40 to 60 minutes. And then eventually when actually everything seems out perfectly bad, except when everything is supposed to turn out obviously good, Oscar realizes that everyone in Fishtown, Sharktown cannot win against Rogue. So they are the ones who eventually retreat, and they cover them, and they, heal up. And then, of course, a few couple of minutes and hours, and a few couple of minutes, a lot of minutes and a few couple of hours have passed, and Oscar and everybody else in Fishtown and Sharktown are doing so well. But then Oscar eventually gives a speech saying that they can end Rogue and his evil piranha-like sharks and basically put an end to him. So they can do that as long as they have like the idea going on in their head. So all the people in Fishtown, Sharktown agree to this, and then Oscar and all the people from Fishtown, Sharktown, and his wife, and not to mention not to mention the Bruce and the two sharks from Finding Nemo. They all have another epic and amazing fighting battle scene. Except only this one. This one's actually an iconic one. The other one was actually leading up to the iconic one. So the iconic one eventually leads up to that, and then of course it ends out. And then of course a few couple of minutes pass by, and then Oscar's girlfriend or Oscar's wife, is almost about to die when suddenly Oscar his supposed when Oscar uses his supposed like fish powers to actually save his girlfriend and wife, and then, which of course would easily be explained in the real thing. And then, of course, Rogue and his evil piranha-like sharks, they eventually die, and they all celebrate and party, and then they have a happy, good ending. The end. Yeah, and now actually that was right there was the what would have was right there was what would have happened if the Shark Tale 2 movie were in real life. Now, I'm actually surprised because this is kind of how I wanted the Shark Tale movie. This is kind of what my Shark Tale 2 sequel movie idea is, because I kind of wanted to do this one, seeing how I did the B movie too. So yeah, it mainly depends on all that. I mean, I only know the main character in Shark Tale called Oscar, and I don't know all the other characters. And I just came up with like a new character named Rogue, which honestly is the best new villain character that I could ever come up with. Which honestly is the best thing that I ever came up with. So yeah. Anyways, that's it for today. Peace out. Bye bye.